This is exciting, guys. Gordon and I were hoping to be side by side, but he said, "Hey, could you go to the other room so that people aren't affected by how much more pretty you are than me?" So that's why I'm over.
That's exactly what I said. Yep. We've had the good fortune of spending the week together working on all sorts of great things for WatsonPowers. We're excited about.
So, Gordon, we're going to call this the second half surge. You
Yep.
and I have been. We've been at dinner every night. We've had breakfast pretty much every morning. I stay at his house, guys. He has a wonderful family, a wonderful house. I work Sunday because I was here for Father's Day. And let me tell you what a stand-up guy is. He kept texting me and calling me and said, "Hey, I'm with my family. We all want you to be here on Father's Day." So if you guys are wondering what kind of quality leadership that we have at our company, we have a man with 7 kids. They were all at this party, all his grandchildren there. It was America. And they invited a friend of the family, but not the family, to be there. So you guys are in the right place. It was a privilege to be there, Gordon.
Well,
So
the
thanks.
truth is, we needed somebody to do the dishes. So
Yeah. Okay. More than me. You needed somebody of normal height because everybody, Zach is 7 feet tall. Brienne wears 6-inch platforms. I mean, honest to God, I looked at everybody's navel at in the pool. It was fun. All right, Gordon, let's start with you, man. What is the first point you want to share with these wonderful people about our 6-month surge?
yes. Well, the first point is I kind of lead into other points. The first point I want to make is I think as we start to put together a plan and look forward to the second half of the year, we're looking outside. What do I need to do different? What kind of adjustments do I need to make in my business? And the first point I want to make is typically the answer to that question is not on the outside. The answer to the question is on the inside. It's what adjustments do I need to make to myself to accomplish the goals I've set? Because as I look on this screen, and I know most of you on here, you guys are experienced, knowledgeable, veteran agents that have a good grasp of what to do. The challenge is, as we get to the midway point in the year, it's hard to stay focused for a long period of time. We start to lose focus. We start to maybe get bored even. And so several of the points I'm going to bring up to you today are going to tie into that. Steve, what about you? What have you got?
So I'm gonna go a different route because Gordon and I we've been fighting over the points, and we said, you know what? You pick 10 you like, I'll pick 10 I like, and we're gonna have a great time. So this one's gonna be kind of raw. Write this down. I need skills for kills. If you want to kill the second half of the year, you got to have mad skills. You got to have objection handling skills. You got to have negotiating skills. You got to have price reduction skills. This market demands that you be on point to make money. There's less deals, so there's less appointments. But the ones with the best skills are going to make the majority of appointments. So for the second half of the year, let's everyone commit to being the greatest objection handler to make appointments and get signatures there's ever been on the planet. Gordon and I and Sydney will work with you on that. But if you don't commit to being the greatest objection handler, you're not going to make the appointments you need to make in the second half. And they are there. They're just better at hiding now. And they require us to have, as I term it, skills for kills. Go ahead, Gordon.
Yep. So in order to do that, what we've got to do is as we look forward, we've got to break down the goal into small bite-sized pieces. Sometimes we get to a point where we look at the goal and it's kind of overwhelming. And what I tell you is work backwards. You know, if maybe you've got another 50 deals to do, okay, then how many appointments do you need to go on to get 50 contracts signed? How many appointments do you need to set to go on that many appointments? You know, all the way down to how many appointments do you need to actually set? I bet you that every single person on this call, if you could focus on setting one qualified appointment a day, every one of you would finish out the year with a number you're happy with. Let's get back to the simplicity of what do I need to do to set one qualified appointment? Because listen, when you put your feet on the floor in the morning and you were thinking about the day, I guarantee you every one of you have the intention of having a successful day. The question is, how do you define a successful day? And isn't our job really to set qualified appointments every day? Isn't that really our job? So if you do that, you focus on that, and you do that every day throughout the balance of this year, you're going to be happy with the results you get. Steve, what do you got?
Oh, shit, that's a hard one to follow up. Okay. So my next point, and these are not in any order, guys. It's not like from here to here. These are just powerful thoughts. You have to perfect what I call the WatsonPowers price reduction system. You've got to have a price reduction system. If you look at the screen, we take 10 listings, 7 are going to sell, 3 are not going to sell. That's the way life is. Some of us in our markets where 5 out of 10 sell. And here's what happens. We have to get over the fact that 3 don't sell. We take 10, 7 sell. 2 sell without a price reduction, and the other 5 have to have price reductions. In this market, a normal market, you don't get price reductions, they're not moving. I want to give Sydney credit for this point because Sydney called me about 45 days ago. And if you guys don't understand, Sydney and I talk almost every day. And it's always about coaching clients because as funny as I am, she's a driver. And she's like, yeah, that's funny. Can we talk about Sammy for a second? Go. So she said, you know what's clearer than ever? If we don't get a price reduction, if we don't get a contract in 14 days, it's overpriced. And we can't sell ourselves on it's the market, it's Zillow, it's taking too long. In the first 14 days, you've had everyone who's looking at that property look at it. Plus the 6 months prior to the people that wanted that property, they saw it. So you had that 14 days of marketing and the last 6 months of buyers. If they don't write a contract, what makes us believe the next buyers in 14 days want to buy it? So what do you have to do? At 14 days, you got to start hammering on the price. And you can't let off the neck. Talk to him and her. Every conversation is about the price. Talk to me, talk to Gordon, talk to Sydney. But the point is, if you don't understand that 5 out of 7 of your listings that are going to sell in the future need price reductions, you don't understand what you're doing.
Excellent point. All right, so I want you guys to jot down in the second half, I need to reframe my thinking. Just write that down. I'll explain it. I need to reframe my thinking. All right, what do I mean? Well, I could say to you, hey, listen, we got to make a lot of contacts. We got to talk to a lot of people to get more business. Well, we all agree with that. The challenge is that sometimes prospecting can be kind of like counting the hash marks on the highway as you're going down the road, and they all start to run together. So I want you to reframe. I want you to think about it from this perspective. If I said to you, Gonzalo, if I said to you, I've got my checkbook out and I wrote Gonzalo Riego across the line here, and I wrote in here $10,000, and I held it up and said, okay, Gonzalo, here's the deal. You've got to make one contact and only one contact. And if that one contact leads to a qualified appointment, I'm going to hand you the check. But if you don't get a qualified, you can only talk to one person. And if you don't get that one, I tear it up. It's gone. Would you approach your prospecting any differently than you have been?
I'm telling you, 100% difference.
100%.
We're not waiting on the next one.
Right, right. See, if our goal is to make, say, 20 contacts in a day, what we tend to do is we tend to prospect like, okay, here's number 2. All right, I'm on number 4. All right, I'm number 12, number 18, only 2 more to go. You can't think about it that way. You've got to think about it like you're not making 20 contacts, you're making one contact 20 times. Every contact you're approaching the same way you would as if I had that check waiting on you. Would you approach it with the call with a little different attitude? Yes. Would you think more about who is the most likely person to say yes? Of course you would. When they answered the phone, would you be really listening to their tone and how they answered the phone? Yes. Would you think about your approach and how you came across to them? Yes. Would you be listening to every word they said and looking for opportunities to close for that appointment? Yes. Now, is that the way you're prospecting now? No. You get me? We've got to reframe it. I want to give you another example of reframing. One of the things that I talk with my team about and the different people that I coach is a term that I call peak prospecting time. And there are certain times throughout the week that are peak prospecting times. And those times are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evening, 6 o'clock or after. I recommend that we make some calls during that time because you're going to reach people at those times that you're not going to be reaching during the typical morning time. Also, Saturday morning starting at 9 a.m. and Sunday afternoons after 4. Those are the most likely times to get people to pick up the phone. And you're typically dealing with the least amount of competition because your competitors are not doing this. So as I talk to my team about this and talk to the different salespeople about it, it's kind of like they want to whine and complain. I don't want to do that. And it's so hard. And I just want to kick back and rest. And I'm like, okay, listen, let's take you back to your life prior to real estate. When you had a real W-2 job, which many of you can relate to, you had a W-2 job and you're making a certain salary. And maybe you're in a position where you really need some more money. You need more income to do whatever it is you want to do. But the fact is you're limited by what they're willing to pay you. Unless you go out and get a second job, you're limited by what they're willing to pay you. However, in the job you have now, you can choose to hit those peak prospecting times. And I think we can all agree if we were to do that consistently throughout the month, there's no question we're going to pick up a few extra deals. No question. Now take a couple extra, let's just say 2, and multiply that times your average commission, which on this call is probably a minimum of $10,000 on average. So is there anybody that is just so haughty-taughty that they can't appreciate an extra $20,000 a month? I don't think so. So instead of saying, I have to prospect in the evening, I have to do my peak prospecting. No. I get to control my income. I get to control my life. I get this opportunity. Look at it from a positive. So just reframe it. Steve, what do you got?
Man, I just feel like I went to church. All right, so that's
Hallelujah.
an excellent. All right, so here's one. Develop a solid social media plan. It's the latest survey says that the average American is on social media 4.5 hours a day during the week and 7 hours a day on weekends. So if you're not on Facebook, you're not on Instagram, you're not on LinkedIn, you're not on TikTok, your customers for the future don't know you exist. Your website is important when they go to it, that it looks like you know what you're doing, but no one's going to your website to get the school data or the weather or what's going on with real estate. They're not going to Google and researching you. They are going on Instagram and Facebook. And if you're not there, you're not relevant. So what you have to do, and it's not complicated. Gordon and I were chatting. We've been doing real estate for about 3 days or longer. And we used to have to put our ads in Homes and Land magazine. And our average commission gross was $3,000, and it was $750 to be in Homes and Land magazine. And if you didn't take ads out in Homes and Land magazine, nobody knew you existed. And when you take the math, 3,000 and 750, we're spending 25% of a commission just to get an ad out, to get a passive call in. Guys, it costs a couple of grand a month to have your social media run correctly. Your average commission is $10,000, $20,000. The amount is so minuscule. So work with Sydney, work with Gordon, work with myself, work with anybody. But you need to be where people are looking, not where you want to be. You need to be in the spaces that our market says, if you're not here, you don't exist. And there's all sorts of reasons why you don't like it, and the buyers and sellers don't care. Adapt to what they want, grow like crazy the second half. Go ahead, Gordon.
Awesome. So the other point I jotted down is many of us, by the time we get to this time of the year, we're kind of in a little bit of a rut. And I heard a rut described one time as a grave with the ends knocked out. Okay. A rut's a grave with the ends knocked out. So what do we do to get out of the rut? Well, what we've got to do is we've got to make some significant changes. And I'm just going to give you a couple examples of some changes that you can make. Okay. When we get into the summer, we start to get maybe a little lax in our appearance, in our dress. Upgrade your dress. If you're getting a little lax, spiff it up, because listen, when you look good, you feel good. So upgrade your dress. The next thing I would tell you is identify those things that cause you to feel good. I can remember being on a coaching call one time, and I was in total burnout. This was back in the mid 90s, and I was being coached, and I was in complete burnout. And my coach said to me, he said, "What do you enjoy?" And I thought about it for a second, and all I could come up with was things that I used to do that I enjoyed. There wasn't anything that I presently did that I enjoyed, except just worked all the time. Okay. Understand, guys, as professional salespeople, we have to know how to push our own buttons. What we can do to cause ourselves to feel good. Now, I just jotted down a few things here, and you guys make your own list. But listening to or reading books and podcasts, okay, exercise, going to release those endorphins. Are you exercising? Getting a massage from time to time. What about, look around, for those of you that are in your workspace, your typical daily works, look around. How long has your workspace looked exactly like it looks right now? And could it use an overhaul? You know, I remember I had a goal board up with a bunch of pictures of things that I wanted. And I got to looking at it one day and realized I wasn't really seeing it anymore, because it was the same thing over and over again, and it had no impact on me. So change it, redesign, redecorate your office, put some different pictures up, rearrange your desk, whatever you need to do. Make some changes, jar yourself out of that rut or that complacency, and see what that does for your attitude. Steve.
Okay, this is a big one. Make your database, your past clients and sphere, correct. What I mean by that is we're going to call our database our sphere, and we're going to make sure that when you talk to a seller or a past buyer or whatever, do I have his and her phone numbers? Do I have his and her emails? Is the date that they bought or sold a house in my CRM? And do I have it to call them 14 days prior to? Let's make the commitment to call our past clients in Sphere a lot for the next 6 months. But let's make sure we clean up our database. How about their personality styles? Do you have that in there? So think of it this way. The average person is moving every 10 years. You have 300 people in your database. 30 of them will not be in that address next year. So when you're calling them, identify those that indicate they're going to move in the next year, and let's elevate them. Let's move them up. You know, here's what you have to do. If you have someone that you believe is going to move in the next year, do a mailing to them once a month. 2 emails to them every month. 2 text and video text to them every month. Gordon turned me on to this. He would send me these video texts, and I can't share you the ones he sends me. But the thought of a video text is incredible, because instead of you just, Peter, giving a text to them, it's now used, "Hi, Steve, it's your realtor friend, Peter Swales. Just wanted to say hi. Thanks for being my client." People are watching Instagram and videos. They're not reading. So let's do video text to them. Make sure they get a holiday card sent out. Guys, we know that Thanksgiving is coming. We know that Christmas is coming. Order your Christmas holiday cards now, hand address them, send them out the Tuesday prior to Thanksgiving. You're the first one they get. Make sure that your people that are selling next year get a new Happy New Year's card. Call them every month. And then when you call them, don't be in rapport, be in credibility, then close. Hi, Jake. It's your realtor and friend, Steve Powers. How are you and your wife? And the answer, Jake, is?
Doing well, Steve.
You know, Jake, since we talked 30 days ago, here's something we did real estate-y. Guys, they are going from a past client to a lead. They only want to know you're moving and shaking property. If all you do for 6 months is tell them how your vacations are going, your new puppy, and you're doing rapport, there's somebody like Chris who's been in their ear buying and selling real estate. I like Steve, but Chris is moving property. So every call, make sure you're talking about moving and shaking real estate. Guys, if you have 300 people, there's 30 deals right there that you can have in the next 12 months.
Awesome point. Awesome point. All right. So I got this idea actually off of Facebook. And this lady, you know, that guy that goes around with the microphone and he interviews people, you know, excuse me, sir, when did you make your first million? You guys see that? I love that guy.
Mm-hmm.
So this one lady was giving ideas. She was a billionaire and she was giving ideas and she called it a vision reel. And I thought, man, what a great idea. So all we do to create this vision reel is you get pictures of different things that you want. Okay, different goals that you have. Like, you know what? I'm thinking like right now that I'm just about down to I've got 1 kid left at home out of 7 kids, 1 kid left at home. And I have been wanting a Porsche 911 Turbo S. It's coming. I'm just telling you, it's coming. Okay. My wife, she wants a house in Colorado. I'm not going to have a choice on that one. That's coming. Okay. But so I'd have my Porsche Turbo S. I would have the house in Colorado. I want everywhere that I go, I want to stay at a Ritz-Carlton or a Four Seasons. Everywhere I go. When I go, I have season tickets to the Dallas Cowboys. Every time I go down for the game, I want to spend the weekend at the Ritz-Carlton in a suite, not just a room, a suite. So I'm going to have a picture of a suite at the Dallas Ritz-Carlton. You see where I'm going with this? So you figure out what it is you want. Then you take those pictures and you put it in a collage. And then you set it to music. So as the music's playing, here it is running in front of you. Your video reel, your vision reel, running in front of you. Do it every day. Because listen, guys, I believe this wholeheartedly. If you want something bad enough, you're going to find a way to get it. Let that sink in. Let me say it one more time. If you want something bad enough, you're going to find a way to get it. But if I asked you guys right now to make a list of what it is you want, how long would it take you to crank out that list? Maybe longer than it should, because you'd have to say, what do I want? Why do I want it? And we all know that that's really the secret to motivation, is wanting something bad enough that you're willing to go out and do what it takes to get it. But if you're not really clear on what it is you want, and then you wonder, why do I struggle with motivation? Why do I have these times in my business when I'm off? Because you just lost focus. But if you're watching that vision reel every day and you're changing it up and adding to it, man, it's going to be right at the top of your mind. And that's what we need, because you guys on this call, right, you're top performers in this industry. That's why I said my first point is what you're looking for is inside of you. It's not as much outside as it is inside. You got to find a way to tap into it, because when you feel good, when you're inspired, when you're motivated, everything works. So we've got to figure out, what do we need to do to push our own buttons? So give that a try, your vision reel. Steve.
Perfect. I'm going to show you how great with Sydney is, and we love her to death. Sydney hasn't been a part of this conversation all week. Sydney, off the top of your head, with your experience, what's a point that you would want these people to know for the next 6 months?
So I think one of the most important things we can do right now is calendarize the last 6 months of the year. Go through and mark down whenever you're going to be off, write down any holidays you plan to take off. Be honest with yourself about like the week of Thanksgiving. Are you actually working the week of Thanksgiving? What's your last day of the year? I mean, really give this some thought. Couple of things you're going to notice. So the first thing is, did you know that there's fewer work days the second half of the year than there is the first half of the year? So time isn't on your side. I'm not trying to scare anyone, but you have to recognize that time is working against us. So you've got fewer days. You're fighting daylight savings time as we get deeper into the year. You're fighting the holidays. You're fighting kids getting back at school. You're fighting all of these distractions. So the days that you work really need to count. Now, here's a couple of other points to think alongside of this. Set your goal for you to complete all your production by Thanksgiving. You should be completely done with the number of listings that you need to take and the number of sales. That way, that last 5 or 6 weeks, if you're in the US, that last 6 weeks is really spent gearing up for 2026. And so what you really are looking at, guys, write this down. You've got 4 months of selling season left. So recalculate your goal. You've got July, August, September, and October. And believe it or not, the year's kind of done by then, isn't it? So recalculate whatever that goal is and really give it a great push the next 4 days. Now I'm going to challenge you guys. If you've got vacations scheduled in the next 4 months, here's something that I've done in my own personal business and in my coaching. I'm not going on vacation these next 4 months. I'm postponing everything until the fourth quarter. Why? Because this is so important. This is money time. And I understand that this is when things are going to be moving. So we've got to keep our head down. We've got to work hard, work smart, and make the most of these next 4 months.
Great
You
point,
guys
Sid.
see why we love Sydney so much? I mean, I asked a simple question and she blew Gordon and I away. And I know what everybody's saying. Well, why doesn't she just continue to talk? Because this is better than Gordon and Steve. Thank you, Sydney. You are phenomenal.
You're welcome.
And if
Thanks,
you guys don't know that she lives this, Sydney asked permission because she theoretically works with us. She got invited to go to Japan for 2 weeks. And we said, sure, we love you to death. We'll figure it out. Go to Japan. You only live once. And then about 30 days ago, she said, the market is shifting. Our clients need us more than ever. I've canceled the trip to Japan. So where Brody said, yikes, cancel my vacations. Well, you're being led by people who are not only talking, they're doing it, guys. So Sydney, on behalf of our clients, thank you for not going to Japan, because it would have been great for you, but bad for them. So thank you for that. So here's one I'm going to talk about. You need to learn to leverage in the second half. In the second half surge, we have to learn it's not always what we know, it's who we know. So we have to start to spend time with people that will push our name to multiples of people. And so I'm going to recommend that you talk about joining a BNI group, joining a social group, joining a charity, taking something where you're one of 10, 15, 30 people. And the idea is 3 points on this, guys, because you got to be careful with these because they can suck you in and become time sucks. So I look for 3 things in a social group that I'm in. Number 1, minimum or low amount of time. I don't want to be meeting 3 times a week for 90 minutes each. I have the good fortune of being on the board of directors for the Boys and Girls Club. We meet 1 time a month, 10 months a year for 1 hour, not 61 minutes, 1 hour. Number 2, it has to have a high impact either on you or the community. So what you do, you have to feel good about doing. Low time and high impact. And number 3, this group has to give you a lot of referrals. Because the reason why I'm going to this BNI group, the reason why I joined this book reading club, or I went to this charity, or I'm on these events, is to network, to get the people there to spread my name through a variety of ways. And I'm going to say this, and I don't mean anything about it. History tells me you want to avoid using the church for this. Very few people in the church will use you comparatively to the number. You got a community of 500 people, that's 50 people a year are moving, and you get one or two. But the church has a tendency to pull more and more time from my clients. If you want to do that, we need you for this. And they got God pulling on you. So I'm not saying don't do the church, but talk with Sydney, talk to Gordon, talk to myself. I play golf in charity golf tournaments. And for those of you I have the good fortune of coaching, I spend 6 hours at a charity golf tournament, and I'm not playing in the Pabst Blue Ribbon Cutoff Open. These are $400 or $500 event tournaments. And I play with 3 people I've never met that are mover and shakers in the community. So by the time I get done with the practice green, the driving green, the round of golf, and working the party afterwards, I come away with 10 or 15 people that are in my sphere for the future. And I know that I can sell 2 to 3 houses next year from that golf tournament. So talk to Sydney, talk to Gordon, talk to myself, have a little variety. Let's leverage, let's increase our contacts. Let's get to know people who can leverage us in the second half. Gordon.
Yeah, great stuff. And you and I are kind of thinking along the same lines there, because I jotted down on my next point, Steve, about making sure that we've identified our best past clients, our best centers of influence, because we all know no matter how many names we have in that database, we get the majority of our repeat and our referral business from that top 10%. Okay, do you know who that top 10% is? Okay, and then I want you to write down the law of reciprocity. The law of reciprocity. What does that mean? That means if I want to be given something, then I have to give something first. All right, so when it comes to calling your past clients in sphere, especially this group, we want to give them something. We want to give them some new information, give them something helpful. Now, I know I've heard that for years, and I'm like, gosh, I'm struggling. I always come back to the interest rates. Well, what's going on with the interest rates? Well, I think maybe people get tired of the interest rates. Well, Sydney, I got a secret I've got to tell you. Don't tell Annette.
Okay.
I've got this new girlfriend. Her name is Chat GPT. And man, is she sexy. I talk to her all the time. And she is freaking smart. And I could say, give me something current about the real estate market that's positive. I don't want to give any negative news. Tell me something current about the real estate market and keep it positive. And ChatGPT is going to crank something out. While Steve was talking this, I've got to tell you, this is what I put in. Okay. I said, give me some positive news about real estate I can share with my clients. What's this come up with? Real estate market shows resiliency and opportunity in mid-2025. Despite economic uncertainties, the U.S. housing market remains strong and continues to show signs of stability. Can I turn that into a message that I can share with my past clients that not only is offering helpful information, but is also making me look like an expert, like I'm staying on top of the real estate business and I know what's going on? Okay. So anybody besides me ever just like, gosh, how many times can you talk about the interest rates? But take advantage of AI. It's going to give you all sorts of information that you can use to share. Okay. So if you haven't identified them already, who are your top 10% of past clients, centers of influence? You should be talking to them once a month, guys. Once a month throughout the balance of this year. And I guarantee you, you're going to find some referrals there. So, Steve, what do you got?
This is sort of redundant. I'm trying to put a different spin on it. So let's agree for the next 6 months, we're going to have a killer expired, cancel, withdrawn policy.
Mm.
Okay, let's agree. And you know, I make this joke all the time. We're all adults. When people say, "Well, what about my past clients?" Well, you can do both. An expired, cancel, withdrawn is like a one-night stand. You know, it's a quick pitch, and you see if it works. You make one call to an expired. You either make an appointment or you don't. It's over. There's no long-term relationship. Your past clients and spheres is like friends with benefits. We don't know who needs a benefit this week, but if we stay in touch with them all, somebody needs a benefit this week and we're happy. We have to understand there's a few things about the expired, cancel, withdrawals. I coach a wonderful gentleman, and we have about a third of our clients that are NDA, and this gentleman is, and he's analytical. He took 6 listings in April, and 5 of them came because he was first, and 1 came because he was last. If you're not first on the best expired, the person who is first, who's got the skill set of a Jeffrey Rodell, he gets on the phone and he talks to an expired, cancel, withdrawn first, he's going to set the appointment. And the seller says, this guy's different, and doesn't pick up the phone anymore. And you got to do it 7 days a week, Sunday being the best. Now, if you're a Mormon, don't do it on Sunday. I don't want you to go to heck on our account. But if you live in Utah and you're not a Mormon, half of the people aren't calling them on Sunday, so good for you. So understand that Sunday is the best day because very few agents are calling. Saturday's the next day. So make the commitment to identify the best expireds every day and make a plan to get in touch with them. Similar to what Gordon said earlier. Hey, Kelly, how are you? Kelly Matthews is one of my favorite people in the world. Kelly, tell everybody where they are so they can send you a referral.
Yorktown, Virginia, in the Hampton Roads of Virginia.
There we go. Nobody knows what Hampton Roads is except for the people who live there, but she lives in Yorktown, Virginia. So Kelly, when you're looking at expired, what's the one thing that you think I want you to look at to determine whether you should call them first and or whether you should door knock, and if you're going to door knock, what time? What's the one thing you want to look at that expired to see what's the best thing to decide when to go door knock them? Do you know?
No.
So Kelly, if I looked at an expired and there was a bassinet in one of the bedroom pictures, how old is that child?
A baby, a couple months old.
At
3
9
months
o'clock in
old.
the morning because they're home, yes?
Yes.
They're getting home in the morning, guys. I'm going door knocking. If they don't pick up the phone, I'm going to their house at 9 a.m. in the morning. Kelly, if I see a little Tykes bed, how old is that child?
4 or 5.
Somebody's home at noon. Got kids in kindergarten, yeah?
Yes.
At noon. Kelly, if it's a dink home, do you know what a dink home is?
Mm.
Dual income, no kids. I see a picture of her in a wedding dress on the side of the bed, and there's no kids furniture in the bike. There's 2 in the rec room. There's a Peloton bike and a yoga mat. There's no indication they have children. I'm door knocking them at 5:30 because they're home. Kelly, if they have a home office, and I'm not talking about a gamer office, you know, it's a red chair and a bunch of goggles and there's Dorito bags piled in the corner. I'm talking about a curved screen where they have a real home office. Does somebody work at home?
Yes.
Do they pick up the phone?
No.
I'm putting my ass out there at 8:30 in the morning. And here's the fun part, guys. The picture shows they work at home. So now I know to go to their house at 8:30, not in the afternoon. I'm trying to get a hookup. I mean, I'm trying to get an expired. And the first one that meets them is going to get it. And here's the thing, and I've done it, and so are the people I coach. I knock at there at 9:15. Hi, Bob Smith, Steve Powers, real estate agent. Oh, I'm on a Zoom call. They're always on a Zoom call.
Mm-hmm.
But understand, they live for the doorbell. Amazon comes every day. UPS comes every day. The postman comes every day. Uber Eats comes every day. They love to answer the door because they're lonely. So when they say I'm on a Zoom call, of course you are. What time are you done? Oh, I'll be done at 9:30. I'm going to Starbucks. I'll be back at 9:30. What do you want? I'm trying to find a listing, guys. Come up with a killer plan 7 days a week. Look at the pictures. Be first, be last, and everywhere in between. And as Gordon said, and I'll use Kelly because she's a fantastic. Kelly, if I took one expired and I said, Kelly, this expired is worth $20,000 to you. If you find a way to talk to the owner before the day's out, whether they give you an appointment or tell you to go to heck, if you talk to them in any way, shape, or form, I'll give you $20,000. Would you find a way to talk to them?
Absolutely.
Then why don't we, guys?
Steve,
You're up, Gordon. Yeah.
what's the script for the door knocking on an expired?
Now call me on that. We're not going down level. We're just giving ideas. Kelly, you can call me anytime.
Okay.
So Steve, I want to expand on that idea. Okay, and I'll share with you an idea that back when I was in production, I used to use and many of my clients have used. So we've got the expireds that have phone numbers and we have the expireds that don't. Now, of course, to expand on Steve's point, we want to make sure we look at the pictures because when we see the pictures of an empty house, we don't want to go door knock that house. Okay. But if there's furniture in the home, okay, in their home, and especially the expireds with no phone number, nobody else is working them. So I came up with an idea and I can't wait to share it with you guys. I called it the red packet idea. Okay. The red packet. And this is the way it works. So I went to the office supply store, bought the red folder, bright red. The more they stand out, the better. Had the 2 pockets inside, and inside there, I had my resume and I had a list of expireds, a list of addresses, how many days they were listed with the previous company and didn't sell, and then they relisted with me and how many days it took me to sell them. Okay, so there's a big contrast. Listed for 180 days, didn't sell, listed with me for 7 days and sold. And I had a whole list of those. Now, if you don't have that kind of a track record, most of you probably do, but if you don't, go off of your company. You can use the numbers from your company and still make this work. Anyway, here's the point. So then go out to the doors, knock on the door. Obviously, hopefully they're home. If so, you jump right into your dialogue. If not, here's the key. If they're not there, I take that red folder. Most of the time, the garage faces the street. Okay, and so I'll slide that red folder between the weather stripping and the garage door. So here's this bright red folder. So when people do come home, they see this bright red folder on the garage. If maybe the garage faces a different direction or whatever, then I'd put it on the front door. But it's bright red, okay? So I drop those and I leave those there. Then at the end of the day, maybe later that afternoon or evening, then I drive by those same addresses again. Now, who's ever gone fishing before with a bobber? Okay. Now, when the bobber goes under the water, what does that mean? It means you caught a fish. So what I would do is I would put those red folders on the front door or on the garage, and then I would drive back by those addresses later in the day. And if the folder was gone, what does that mean? It means my bobber has gone underwater. I've got a fish. So I stop and I go to the door. However, if the red folder is still there, nobody's come back. They're not home. Keep driving. Okay. This is the technique that you can talk to a lot of people at the door. Red folder idea. Give that a try.
All right. So we have 1 minute left, Gordon. Let me combine both your point and my point if I can, because we had the same point. Read more books. I'm going to suggest that you commit to reading 1 book a month. Now, I'm going to show you the proper way to read the book. Now, most of you know you read books top to bottom, left to right. Everybody got that part? You should read a book with a pen and a highlighter. And most books are 8% information, 92% filler. So when you read a book, and I know, oh, I got Kindle, I listen to books on tape. All of that is great. But there's something tactical about reading a book by hand. And then when you read a passage you like, highlight it. Write a note why this is important to you or your business. Then fold the bottom of the page up in the corner. When you're done reading the book, put it on the shelf. And anytime you want to revisit the book, you just pull it down and you only need to read the pages that were important to you so you can read the whole book again in about 10 minutes. And you should always be reading 5 books at one time. Put one in the bathroom, because sitting there watching Instagram is not making you money and not filling your brain. Sitting there and sending things to your spouse or your friend while you're on the potty is not giving you a great second half. One in the bathroom, one in your car. So when a client texts you, I'll be 10 minutes late, instead of pulling out Instagram and Facebook, read a couple pages. You should have one next to your bed. Read 4 or 5 pages of a book every night. And if you think about it, if you read 4 pages a night and it's 200 pages, you're reading a book in bed every 50 days. And you're going to bed with great thoughts in your head. You should have a book at your office. And you should have a book in your living room in the chair. Interesting. And I tell Gordon knows this. I have a dear friend of mine who has cubic foot money. And I coached this kid on the lacrosse team. And between games, I pulled out my backpack and I was just reading a book. And he came over to me and said, "You read?" I said, "Yeah, what are you reading?" So we were talking back and forth. And that's how we became friends. He goes, "The most successful people I know in the world are always reading books." Books instantly bring you to a new place. They bring you to a world that you created through the author's world. So Gordon had it on his about books. And he said, books and podcasts. Guys, you want to have a great second half? Fill your mind with great ideas from other people. Read the books that fit your needs. So Gordon, I'm not going to take the last point. You take the last point or whatever you want to say, because we've kept these people a little longer than we told them we would. Give us one Gordon-esque 1 minute or less surge moment, and we're out of here.
We've given them a lot of great points to inspire themselves with. And that's really the most important thing that I could say in conclusion is you have got to get re-inspired and stay inspired. Whatever it takes, get yourself inspired. If you don't find some ideas out of today's call, you weren't paying attention, because there's tons of great ideas. And on behalf of Steve and Sydney and myself, thank you so much for being a part of Watson Powers and being a part of this call. Have a great second half, guys. See you soon.